Hey, this is Brian.
And Shelby.
And this is the Hyperspace Podblast.
Aren't you a little short for a podcast?
Huh?
Greetings, travelers.
I'm just gonna wear a blindfold whenever we record anything because I can't look at you and not laugh.
Yeah, I have that effect on a lot of people.
So welcome to Hyperspace Podblast number 6. We're talking ships, relationships,
And Ewings.
Not really.
So the idea for this podcast actually came from a shout out from Brightree Radio, and you should definitely go check them out.
Do it.
Our Core World counterparts. Get it?
They're British.
Anyway, they gave us the idea of podcast power couples, so we thought we would talk about
Star Wars power couples.
Romantic relationships.
Not like, romances, which is what I like to talk about.
Of course you do.
I know.
So anyway, we're going to talk about what role do romantic relationships play in Star Wars?
And I would say pretty much the same that they play in anything else. I mean, what you're looking for, I think, in any sort of fantasy, sci-fi, etc. IP is something that mirrors your world in a different way. I mean, you don't want everything to be so completely outlandish that you can't identify with it whatsoever. So that's why you often see romantic entanglements in anything. I mean, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, etc. It's there because it's there in real life, and art imitates life, as they say.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because, it would be strange if it wasn't there.
Yeah, it would be almost off-putting. The characters would seem wooden, I think, if they didn't have, these simple romantic desires that everyone else has. I mean,
right. Those are people. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
It's just kind of a natural thing that happens. However, I do think that, anytime you have boy-girl together, people do that whole automatic assumption of it being a romantic relationship. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's down the road.
So let's talk about actual relationships that are in Star Wars, or I guess, relationships that are non-debatable whether they exist or not.
More prominent, we'll say that, like the obvious relationships.
So, I mean, I guess the most obvious would be Han and Leia.
I think so. Maybe tied with Anakin and Padme, but still. I think the most well-known one is probably Han and Leia, especially because of how it played out. It was a very realistic getting together. You know what I mean? They sort of started off as the elementary, I like you, I'm going to pull your hair type of thing, and it
Which
moved.
isn't a good thing to teach little girls. Don't tell them. Don't. No. Just because he throws sand in your eyes doesn't mean he likes you.
Especially if it's Anakin. He doesn't like sand.
Oh.
Anyway. Yeah, I think their relationship is the most interesting because of the way that it evolves, and the way that it de-evolves, I guess. We don't really know exactly how that happens. Obviously, Ben's fall is sort of the catalyst to that, but you see a little bit in Aftermath that he being Han, before Ben is even born, is getting that sort of cabin fever. He's not used to being tied down. So that's becoming something that's rearing its ugly head, I guess, so to speak, before, the nail gets driven into the coffin by. That's pretty morbid.
Wow. Yeah. That's
Works,
heavy.
Anyway,
before the lightsaber gets stabbed.
I wasn't even alluding to that. I was just talking about when Kylo kills the entire. But yeah, I mean, he does kind of put the
lightsaber through the
red
chest.
glowing nail into Han's coffin, doesn't he?
Ooh.
It still hurts. Okay, I'm done. I'm just kidding. Probably
Well,
more.
I mean, you have to think they have a very complex relationship even up to the end. So
Yeah,
it's good to see something like that it's not like, and they live happily ever after.
Right, exactly. Like, you don't come into episode 7 and they're like, even though our son went dark and killed all the other Jedi and forced Luke into exile, we still love each other more than anything, and nothing can tear us apart.
Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't a thing. I mean, they did such a great job at showing that those feelings still exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not everything's okay. Like,
right.
And I think that's important to show that, because that's what real relationships are like. When people get married and then divorced, one, their feelings for each other don't just go away completely, unless something catastrophic. But or that was the whole reason for the divorce. But I mean, it's something. If you think about some catastrophic event that tears a family apart, it's not usually going to destroy all feelings for those, two romantic partners. So they still care about each other and that sort of thing. It's complicated. And I think they did a great job at showing that.
Especially in this instance where it wasn't, there was no infidelity. It wasn't one versus the other. It was like a third party that essentially drove them apart. Though, like I said, I do think that it's something that was made easier by the two of them, and just the way Leia is so driven by her outside passions and by Han being so driven to be a drifter.
Are you trying to say something to me, Brian?
No.
Okay.
Paranoia.
All right. Anyway, Anakin and Padme.
Yeah, the other power couple. Now, see, these two have a really weird... if you really think about it just as a relationship, you have a 10-year-old that met, what is she, like 14? Their age difference seems larger than it actually is, because she's supposed to be younger than I think Natalie Portman was at the time, because they talk about it in the Clone Wars, or not the Clone Wars, but Attack of the Clones. She says something about being too young to rule. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure they're not as far apart as it seems. But still, it was awkward having the young Anakin Padme sort of interactions. And then, it makes sense for Anakin to think about her. She may be, hell, he says she's an angel. So obviously she's the best looking woman he's ever seen. And hanging out at the Jedi Temple, I'm sure there's some good-looking Jedi. Ala Secura's there. She's pretty okay looking, if you're into blue tentacle ladies.
All right, then. Okay.
We could take this another way, but we're not going to.
We're not going to at all. Not
Anyway.
touching that. Anyway. All right.
Yeah, so it evolves into like him having basically an obsession and her seemingly having nothing to do with him. And then, I don't know, I always think of it as her trying to fight her own feelings and then giving in with that whole cheesy Velveeta speech there when they're about to get towed out into the arena.
It's not that cheesy if it's Velveeta. That's fake. Anyway.
Well, it seems fake, but
it's liquid gold.
That's okay. And that's our show. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
The way their relationship evolves, and honestly, if you watch the Clone Wars cartoon, I think it gives them a lot better background, more fleshing out of their feelings and things. It's just so fast the way it evolves in Attack of the Clones, and then when you see them in Revenge of the Sith, it works really well because they're already established and you don't know why unless you watch the Clone Wars. Then it makes more sense, but it feels like a more regular, really happy, probably the happiest relationship you see in Star Wars, really.
Yeah,
but right up until the point, he chokes her out and basically steals her life force, but that's a whole different ballgame.
Well, I don't think it's intentional. He doesn't mean to.
He chokes her out intentionally. There's no question about that. But yeah, up until like the third act of Revenge of the Sith, they are probably the most happy couple we see on screen, because even Han and Leia have their, in Return of the Jedi, their little talk on the bridge there when he's like, who could you tell, Luke? That's who you could tell, And when he gets back, I'll just leave you two alone. And then she drops the bomb that he's her brother, and he's just like, what?
What?
And then they make out, and he's like, oh, cool, whatever, I'm down.
Yeah, I mean, Anakin and Padme, I love Anakin and Padme. I think
a lot of people do. They're a lot of people's favorite. And, people ship them, which I was like, I didn't think you could ship people that were already a thing. I don't really know how that works.
I don't either. But, you're saying that you think they're the happiest couple on screen.
Correct.
But I kind of disagree because I'm now a big Lyra and Galen fan.
Yeah.
They seem extremely happy, so...
I think they are, and maybe I'm biased because I've read Catalyst, and it's not that they're unhappy, it's just Galen is like the most distant human being on the planet. Like, he was not really meant for a romantic relationship. I think Lyra kind of just made that happen because she liked him, and he was like,
hey, I like you.
Yeah, hi, I can accept you as a mate. Now back to research. I mean, that's essentially, I don't know, maybe it's not that bad, but yeah, I think once they escaped and they were on wherever Krennic finds them, I can't remember the name of the planet now, I think they were happy.
I feel like you kind of have to be in love to
do that. But there's got to be the circumstances weighing on them have to really be playing. I mean, because they had all that surveillance. Obviously, they're on edge all the time.
Right.
So there's got to be, I don't know, maybe it speaks more to their happiness that they seemed happy despite all that. So
right. Maybe
that's a positive for them. I still think, grassroots happiness, I think you're probably right, but I still think Anakin and Padme seem
they have that
all lovey-dovey with
that you know what it is? They're just
brushing her hair.
They're just stupid love. Like,
yeah, it is. It's new.
They're dumb.
It's the stuff I see on a weekly basis at high school.
It's
where they're like the most in love you can ever be, and then the next week they don't even look at each other or speak or remember each other's names.
It's like the
that's a good point. It is. It's completely made up.
They're the music.
Lust.
Yeah, they're the music that, it's a good beat and easy to dance to. And Lyra and Galen are the lyrics that actually mean something.
Yeah, they're the...
Because I feel like they're... I don't know. I'll just leave it at that.
And also, I put in the notes Lyra, Galen, and Krennic. Because if you've listened to the show, you know that I believe there is some sort of non-romantic love triangle there. But we're not going to go into that because this is about romance.
Okay. Obi-Wan and Satine.
Dun, dun, dun.
Basically what Anakin should have done.
Right. The Obi-Wan and Satine relationship is Anakin and Padme diverging instead of converging. There are two people deciding this is not what's best for us. We shouldn't do this. Where Anakin and Padme were like, this is not what's best for us. Let's do it anyway and keep it a secret. That'll be super good. And then bad things happen, as we all know. But yeah, obviously Obi-Wan and Satine is not it's fairly well known. It's not as well known because it doesn't take place on screen. And it really seems almost out of character for Obi-Wan.
I would agree with that.
But only if you're taking into account older Obi-Wan. Like, really stick to the rules. Kind of has his mission and lives by that. Like, he basically gives himself to Luke at the end of Revenge of the Sith, I would say. But before that, and he's almost said raised. I guess it is kind of raised, but he's the apprentice of Qui-Gon, who's a very outside the box Jedi, not a real stickler for the Council's rules. So
that's a good point.
You can see where he would have, especially as a young man, when obviously the whole Satine stuff happened.
And also think about, he had to have known about Anakin and Padme for a long time. And he didn't say anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was chill with it because he was like, I get it.
Well, I get it. I think he
gets it.
I think he hoped that Anakin was going to make the right decision, right in air quotes.
And I don't think that he would ever,
Jedi.
I don't think he would really in terms of something like that would really tell him like completely straightforward what to do. I mean, he would hint around it and I think he'd beat around the bush, but I don't think he would say, you need to do this.
Yeah, I think a lot of his teaching style was having his student arrive at the conclusion on
themselves.
His own. And I mean, that's really a good way to teach people because it's gives them more ownership, in their learning process. But unfortunately, Anakin took ownership of Padme, so to speak, and then
not a very
ownership
healthy relationship.
No, well, it's one of those. I mean, it equates back to what Leia says about the Empire tightening their grip and things slipping through their fingers. Padme hadn't yet, obviously. I mean, he forced the issue. I know, I didn't even mean to do that. But eventually she would have, I think, because he would have really shortened that leash. And I mean, you see it again, to reference the Clone Wars, that whole business with, can't remember the guy's name. I never liked him in the show. The other senator, I want to say his name started with a C. I don't remember. You all remember. You're probably better at this than I am. But
you're not a real fan, Brian.
I know. I'm failing right now so bad. I'm like supposed to be the one that knows everything, and now I'm wah, wah.
But anyway.
Yeah, anyway. The thing I remember most is they're on like an ice planet, and then Imbo is there to do something, and Imbo is awesome. And then I get distracted by Imbo and can't remember other things.
Overall, we've kind of covered of how they're important to Star Wars and what is similar and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have, in summary, Anakin and Padme, very much like Obi-Wan and Satine, but just the conclusion or
basically the opposite ending.
Exactly. And I mean, Lyra and Galen, they're kind of...
They're on their own. They're the most regular... Obviously, until the end, which it seems like we keep saying over and over.
But Lyra and Galen and Han and Leia, they're very similar in the fact that it's a somewhat messy relationship, and they still care for each other during extremely trying times.
True. Yeah, trying, like being shot by Death Troopers, that was hard for him.
Yeah, that's really difficult to go through as a couple.
Back from the dead.
Well,
I love that. Best line in the movie, maybe.
So
anyway.
Thinking about romance that wasn't in Rogue One or The Force Awakens, that's something that a lot of people have talked about, saying that they're unhappy with the lack of romance.
Yeah, and like, especially in Rogue One, for example, the whole ending there with Cassian and Jyn, it really does seem like the whole time I was watching, I was like, are they going to kiss? That'd be weird.
I know. Oh, I mean... But the whole time I saw it, I was just like, don't kiss. Please don't kiss. Come on. I like them too much. No. I mean, don't do it.
A lot of people said it just felt right, and they could understand, like, in the moment.
It felt strange.
I feel like it was there, and they took it out. Like, cause
it felt
really
like that.
It felt like that they were building that up, like that romantic tension, will they, won't they, type thing.
I don't think it was developed enough in other parts of the movie. Like, you would have needed a couple more close calls kind of like that before that scene for it to make sense, in my opinion.
Right, I agree. That's more, it would have been like...
And I think I would have been more okay with it existing, or potentially existing, if they had those other scenes that would make it plausible. But, also the idea that maybe it even happened and it was something we don't see. I mean, you don't need to see it sometimes to know... it was a thing, but I feel like there wasn't enough crumb dropping throughout the movie to establish it. I don't think that's what it was. I thought it was a very an intimate let's die together.
I have a feeling it was there. There was some more romantic tinge to it, and it got edited out. Maybe I'm wrong though. Right. I don't know. I kind of gave up reading about all the stuff Entertainment Weekly or whoever it was putting out about deleted scenes and all that stuff, because I realized I didn't care. I mean, it's not in the movie, so
right.
I don't care what they didn't have.
Right.
I mean, I like to watch deleted scenes and stuff because they're interesting, but...
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of how many times have we had extremely featured female characters and they are not in a romantic relationship. That's very, very few.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean...
because you need that. You need times that there isn't a romantic interest, that these women are doing things other than making googly eyes at other characters.
Correct. No googly eyes in Star Wars. Unless you count Mala, she kind of has googly eyes.
She does have googly eyes. I mean, we didn't talk about her boyfriend.
Oh my God, best relationship
I
in Star Wars.
I need to see that. I'm hoping that is going to be in the Han Solo movie. Something explaining. I want it so badly. We said that before, but
we've been down this road, but it's a road worth traveling.
I think so. And The Force Awakens, Rey and Finn.
Or Poe and Finn.
We're going to get to shipping in a second.
I know.
But I mean, it doesn't seem like that groundwork has even been laid.
No,
really.
I don't. I mean, he is trying, with the boyfriend thing. Like,
I thought that was just...
I thought it was funny.
I thought that was just to be funny. I didn't even feel like that was like a...
No, they added it for comedic effect, but obviously, Finn's... He's fishing a little. Come on, he wouldn't say that just to
you
be
know what?
funny.
I can't tell you. I mean, I think that's a guy thing, though, a lot of times, is like, just seeing if it's possible.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's fishing. Maybe he's looking for, the... I don't have any good fishing
we're done.
analogies.
We're done.
Anyway.
Force Awakens, I mean, the stop grabbing my hand, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that is romantic in the least. I think that's like a...
It's sort of like...
It's like a...
counter-romantic.
Exactly.
But I mean, it wasn't even something that was done in a romantic way.
Exactly. It's like him pulling her along and she's like, stop grabbing my hand. Like, stop pulling me into this. Not stop being romantic.
Stop being my freaking knight in shining armor, dude. I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
Like, did
exactly.
you see what I just did to all those thugs?
Exactly.
Get up out my face.
I'll save you.
Boy. Yeah, shipping. Shippy.
So shipping.
Yeah, I literally don't really know anything about this. Like I said earlier, I've seen people ship Padme and Anakin, and I thought you couldn't ship people that already had a ship.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think shipping gets such a bad rap. I don't personally ship, really, but, like, it's just like any other theory. Like, what if?
She ships Chewie and Miles, don't let her lie to you.
I don't feel like you even need to ship that. We talked about this whole, like, don't need to ship. She talks about her boyfriend. Shipping is like any other theory, like, or a what if, It's fun to entertain certain what ifs. And why do we, turn our nose up at a what if that just happens to be romantic? And it's fun because it's like fun to think about these different kinds of relationships and that sort of thing. And, I think that's one of the things that you can relate to the most as a person.
Right, like getting back to what we said at the beginning, like why romance is even a thing, because it makes it relatable. So this is taking characters you like and making them more relatable to you. Like erotic friend fiction. But
anyway.
Watch Bob's Burgers.
Yes. It's so good. So, who would you ship if you had to pick one ship?
Kylo Ren and General Hux. All day, every day.
Ooh, okay. All right.
That's what's up. How about you?
How about me?
You can't say Chewie and Maz.
I'm not going to say Chewie and Maz. Well, honestly, you're going to like this, or maybe you won't.
I'm intrigued.
I honestly would ship BB-8 and R2 because shush. Because I'm such a big Wall-E fan, and I think that's so cute.
Yeah?
It'd be adorable.
How would their data ports connect?
Why do you gotta take it to that place? Why? Why do you have to take it there? Listen. But I think it would just be so cute and adorable, and you don't even have to, like, know what they're saying to each other.
Yeah, and you don't have to, like, have perceived gender either, which is an
exactly
aspect of it.
Yes.
Very smart.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
So I think that's about it. Thank you for listening.
We're all out of ships to sail.
If you like this podcast, make sure to drop us a review in iTunes. That helps other people see the podcast. Hit us up on Twitter. We're pretty active on Twitter.
At hyperspace_pod on Twitter. And email us at hyperspacepodblast@gmail.com. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Tell us that you want to come on the show and make fun of us. We will probably say okay. Anything like that, yeah. And so, speaking on my shipping of Kylo Ren and General Hux, the Imperial Talker, who has a great blog and is the most sarcastic person on Twitter, which is saying a lot, he challenged me, sort of, to come up with a theme song for a Kylo Ren General Hux sitcom on Netflix. So,
oh my glob.
The outro will be that this week instead of the regular rocking song. And then maybe after that it'll be a different song because someone keeps complaining about my awesome metal song. Oh my god.
Throwing me under the bus.
Hey, listen, I've been there. It's nice and warm and you stay dry. So, calm down.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we're all done now. Bye.